next year, of course, to the format, and you must have done a ton of analysis. What I wanted to ask you was, what were the limitations of that format that you thought about, considered, and weighed into the decision-making process?
So what particular format are we talking about?
The 15-point format.
Or the 15, so the scoring format?
Yeah.
Scoring system. Wow, okay, that's obviously something that has been under long and thorough discussion with all our community stakeholders and so on. But I would say I could bring up a lot of different elements where there's an advantage doing what we have now decided to do for next year. But I would highlight one of them, which I think actually lies in a feedback we received for quite a number of years from players that they are becoming better and better. They play fantastic badminton. You see the length of the matches, the tightness of the matches, the broadness and the depth in the world ranking means that more and more play super good. So actually it's full on from first round, even for the best players. So that means the physical component of the pressure, the load on the players becomes bigger and bigger. And we want obviously try to help players as much as we can do what they do best, play every week or as much as they can, but at the same time not get injuries. And that's really the balance we're trying to strike here by putting the load slightly down. It's not a revolution, it's an evolution of a scoring system where when we change from the 15, but where you needed to win a point, have the serve to win a point, that's what I played back in the days. That actually changed to having much shorter matches. Now that has come up considerably, and therefore we're now just tweaking the point system where the load on players will come down, so we actually safeguard the players and their health in a better way. There's many other things in terms of scheduling, in terms of how tournaments are conducted, number of days, but that's the complexity. You can go to our website, you can find the whole thing, but that's just one of the things I wanted to highlight.
I just want to follow through.
Yeah.
What I was also saying is the opposite side of it, because when you were analyzing, you must have also seen what the constraints and limitations of that change might be. Mm-hmm. And what are some of those things? What are the disadvantages of going to a 15-point format for badminton?
No, I mean any decision to take and in an analysis you make, there might be people that think otherwise and have a different perception. We're changing 6 points per game in a format that has become longer and longer and longer over the years. And I get it. This is a change for players. You know, they are so good, our players. They are fantastic. I admire their abilities. They'll adapt to this in a split second. I know they'll say, oh, it's hard and so on, but they are so good, I'm convinced about that they'll adapt quickly. Coaches are a little bit worried because, oh, now it's changing something. I get it. I don't see big disadvantages other than, yes, there'll be an adaptation, there'll be some, worries about it. Maybe a slight change in balance, but our analysis and the statistical kind of analysis we made on these things, because you can't predict, I don't have a crystal ball. But what we've done is that we have tried to simulate how would this come out and so on. Our best opinion, this will come out with the same champions, the same people winning and so on, but maybe even with a slight twist to having more close matches. I think that's an advantage for badminton. I'm not sure it's an advantage for everyone that may win or lose, but that's not why we're here. We're here to, evolve badminton for the benefit of the players at the end of the day. So I don't see any big disadvantage, but I do concur with some people that say it'll change slightly, but I don't think those changes are bad necessarily, and some think we would rather be without. Fair enough. I think it'll be good.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks so much. Faisal from Australia.
Yeah.
So sorry, before that, can you look at...
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so my question is for the electronic calling, the one that maybe will be next year. Maybe you can share on that.
I'm sure you're running around with a lot of second, third-hand information here. But yes, we have a lot of technology projects in the pipeline and have had that for quite a while. And there's very hard work being done on these things. And I'm not quite yet ready today to actually announce all of these things. So I'll do that at a later time. But for now, yes, I can confirm we have lots of interesting new developments both for the game and for the spectators, but also in particular for the players in terms of how we play the game. those technologies can help umpires and players on court and so on. So, but I'm not ready today to quite open that detailed, because we're still working on quite a few things and exactly when we can implement and so on. But I'll come back to you on that when we can.
Is there a deadline for having this video reference in all the courts, starting from Super 100? Maybe some players have expressed concerns like especially on court government side courts.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I would like to have everything on every court in every tournament and have as much of everything. But there's obviously that's what we're working on exactly, scoping that whole thing. But I think it's safe to confirm that we will come up with new technology and start implementing already from 1st of January. But I'll come back to you on the details of that, on how that will look.
So
Sahil, could you also talk about the importance of the Indian market when you talk about badminton, official badminton, India has produced a lot of badminton superstars like Lund, so would you just talk about the importance of the Indian market as far as badminton is concerned?
No, I mean, now it's not a coincidence we're here with this, our, biggest event, one of the biggest events we've got, on the calendar here in India. And that's simply because obviously India has both as a top player, top performance. We've had individual stars, but that's also actually came out suddenly with a Thomas Cup win here not too many years ago, which actually shows the depth and the breadth of what India have been doing at the top performance level. But obviously our statistics show that India is probably, if not the fastest growing badminton market, with maybe one of the biggest populations anyway in the world. I mean, I can't say anything else. That's super interesting that we're able to offer sport to the communities, to all the players, young people and so on, to play the game. And I hope obviously we have a slight distance to the cricket religion that you have in this country. But we're getting there, and that's our objective, and we have to aim high. But we are so thrilled being here in India and with a sport that obviously resonates both with the population, I think with the culture, but also the climate and everything else. So I'm just delighted to see. We are not driving the development of that participation. I mean, that's obviously through many good stakeholders here in India driving that, the passion of our badminton, the BAI and many other that drive that. We are helping, offering our assistance. We're trying to promote all the different programs we have, the coach education, shopping time, and programs that can help the local, the domestic setup to develop that even more. But I mean, fantastic development we've seen over the years, and we hope that will also start to have some of the biggest tournaments on our tour. So it's really just a growth success over quite a long period, and it's been a lot of hard work, I know, from all the stakeholders here. So well done.
Thomas,
to that series now, we need which days lined up.
As I said, I'll come back to you on it. I'm sure you would like to have all the news and all the details, but I'm not able today to give you that detail. But we will come back to you as soon as we have that detail ready.
Thomas, sorry, we are midway into the tournament. We are midway into the World Championships now. Has New Delhi lived up to the expectations to host a World Championships? There was a lot of criticism ahead of it.
You know what? I mean, I can only say that we've had a team here for quite a long time working hand in hand with the local organization, Badminton India, with all the stakeholders around it. I'm super impressed to see what has been established in this venue. I know there's been some criticism earlier in the year, but the amount of things that has been done in that really short time in terms of upgrading whatever was, some of it was details, frankly, some of it was more significant, but I think I'm really impressed, and I thank Badminton India and all the stakeholders, the government and everybody have actually been behind this with the venue, with the operational detail that they've been able to get right for this tournament. I've only heard really positive feedback from players and everybody that actually, were here earlier in the year and had different concerns and so on. And obviously, well done to our organization here. We are very satisfied with where we are today, and I hope, actually, first question I've received anyway around this week, and that's a good sign because then obviously you needed to ask it, I'm sure. But I'll just hope from here on and onto the finals, the focus will be on what happens on that court down there because frankly we've had fantastic matches. I mean, I've talked to some of our commentators. I haven't been able to see all the matches, but some of the matches. And even matches that we predicted was kind of not close matches, one-sided, has come out as being super interesting matches, some nice surprises. And you know, so I think let's focus on that because I think the other things around the framework we're working in here, I think the Indian organization have done really, really well.
Jonathan, any plans for introducing something like prize money at the World Championships?
I mean, we've just been discussing all the things we're doing. I mean, we've been revamping a little bit on having new concepts coming in. We have slightly longer tournaments to preserve health safeguarding for athletes to 1,000 major championships. There's technology that will cost us a little bit to implement as well, without me being able to tell you exactly what that is. So there's all of these things. So right now that's not on the charts because we are obviously focusing on that. That's a long-term plan. We don't want to be left behind all the other sports with technology because we want to focus on one tournament, prize money, and so on. And a lot of what we have been focusing on, though I want to highlight, is on broadcast. So you know from our press releases and so on, that one of the things that's been one of the biggest focuses in our commercial setup is broadcast more matches. We're showing all matches for the Super 1000 with more players deeper, so you'll get more Indian matches on TV, you'll get more matches from German players on TV, from US players on TV, also from Malaysian players on TV, so we don't need to make choices on which ones you get. So you'll actually get a more, but that's money that goes into this. And right now that has been our focus, but there will be more players that get more exposure, they have their own advertising, all things equal will go up in price. So we have a slightly different way of thinking in terms of how helping players. Because of course we can just give you $100 and then great. We would like to make something that's more sustainable by giving players sustainable livelihoods by actually supporting their own revenue generation as well. At the same time as also establishing the framework for them to actually become successful on board with their sport, but also commercially with whatever they need to do to live, you know, a happy life in badminton. But some of them actually do live pretty good. I know we are not golf players yet or football or so on, but I mean, from where we were 20 years ago, I think I can safely say that though don't need to be satisfied, they need to obviously do what we do on court and push for more, but I think we can show growth and that's our objective. We push for more, but we don't necessarily think the solution is just here's $100. We'd rather pay investment into frameworks that can help them generate, including our member federations. The team tournaments, of course, become as a team, they come with team sponsors and so on. So we want to have all stakeholders. I mean, someone needs to pay for the practice as well. so all of that is an ecosystem philosophy where prize money is not always the right solution to actually support players, even though it seems to be in this solution. We don't think that's the right time. We have, by the way, pushed up prize money instead of the tour.
Yeah.
So instead of having one tournament 3 out of 4 years having prize money, we have actually pushed up World Tour prize money every week. Yeah. So just to say, it's not like we're not thinking about it, but focusing on this one tournament every year, 3 out of 4 years, I think is maybe a little bit narrow-minded, if that's what the question would allude to. I think we're really here to support a broader and slightly more holistic strategy on how we actually serve all our stakeholders financially, sports-wise, health-wise, sustainability-wise.
Shivani, Shivani, your question?
Yeah, so Super Thousands would be about 11 days next year.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but player recovery in other tournaments because they play back-to-back matches. Is there any way out?
Well, scoring system was asked in the beginning.
Correct.
That's obviously one of the tools we've taken into the toolbox that affects all levels. So obviously the fact that now players will play, you know what, I think the result in a year or two will be that lessons will become longer, maybe even close to the time we have today. Then we need to look at it again maybe. But that is right now a tool where load will go down on each individual match a little bit. that will help them with that recovery. We can, due to that, actually create a schedule with the same number of matches over the days that will hopefully not go in. We've done a lot not to end anything at 2 o'clock in the morning, right? Already. But actually we can maybe have slightly earlier finishes, slightly longer recovery times, which is all load questions in terms of health for players. Therefore we are doing something on the other levels as well. But clearly when the best players, top players come together, Super 1000 or at a major event like this one, then obviously the load is harder. That's why we decided that those tournaments to also grab the 2 or more days. It actually creates rest days in between, a little bit like an Olympic event, which is obviously also a pinnacle together with our major events. So would that make sense?
Just as a follow-up, these players are capable of pushing the 15-point also to the 1 hour mark. And
To the what?
eventually.
I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but we have made tests, and of course there will be players playing an hour with a 50 point. As today we have players playing to 21, some of them play half an hour, and then some of them play above the 100-minute mark. So we have to work a little bit on statistical accuracy, because draws will come out with different opponents. And sometimes they'll have an easy run, and sometimes they'll just, from the first run, have a bad draw. And then meet one after the other of super good players and play hours and hours and hours and maybe lose. I mean, that's the nature of any sport. And the draws and so on. What we have to look at, that's not like we have in every tournament over a year. Therefore, the average load is coming down through scoring system adjustments, scheduling adjustments, more days adjustments and so on. So I actually think we've done quite a lot in terms of adjusting our concepts with a very player-focused mind to hopefully get the results we have will have with, as I said to somebody else here the other day, I mean, the term goats don't come players playing for a year, they come through having a long career of winning things and recognize them, and they become media arms. And for us to support that they have longevity in their careers, we need to also take care of them. And that's a lot of things we have done. There's many other things we've done, technology and There's an integrity thing, maybe also a thing for TV to how they can present this and get more viewership and all that. So we have tried to think of a package for next year. We have been able to do that in the middle of the cycle. And frankly, we came into this cycle and people start to sometimes tend to forget this. We came into this cycle with COVID still happening. So our ability to really go into this very much bigger investment approach with our partner that we have actually just signed up last year that we announced, which is Influence Region, that's a collaboration where we've been able to actually come in with a much more creative and much more dynamic and ambitious new World Tour Major Championships concept that we hope will get us to the next step, both in India but obviously in the rest of the world. And all the media here, you know what I'm talking about, because you know what your local markets are doing.
Akshay?
You spoke about player welfare, scheduling and all that, but is badminton also watching growing racket sports like paddle and pickleball? Was that also a decision to bring down the scoring and maybe attract more players? Was that the line of thought when the scoring system was changed?
No, it's not really. I mean, I think lots of sport around us are doing fantastic things. And I mean, there's emerging sports coming up. Some of them really small in commercial terms, some are growing, the participation base. And hey, we live in a world where young people are obviously looking for new things, and some of them come up as a trend and maybe fall a little bit down, some actually come up and grow. We are very much focused on our own kind of product, our own world, our own stakeholders. I mean, two more stakeholders, important stakeholders for us, because you already said it, markets where badminton is played and is mainstream, more mainstream than some of the others. But we're focused on what can we do to bring our sport to the next level. We're looking at any sports, not particularly the ones you may mention, because I think we're slightly ahead of that. We're looking upwards and saying, okay, what are the big ones? So how do we reach the cricket level of this country, where cricket is probably looking how do they reach the football level in other countries? So, and we're doing the same. But we look more upwards than what somebody that wants to replicate what we're doing wants to do. I think we've learned lots of things from other sports, maybe also other industries. Technology-wise, how can we use new technologies? That's not particularly for sport, but what are general trends? What's the youth trends? Because we have youth sitting there on small enough board, but playing computer games or emerging in new things that are not necessarily related to sport. And we need to obviously adapt our world to how can we create some interest for them as well. There's a new thought, and I don't represent that generation anymore. I can tell you, my kids tell me every day. But it's very clear to me that we need to follow what happens. There's different trends in India than what we see in the American market or some of the other Asian markets and so on. So it's a quite complex thing. We believe very much in what we've done here. The test will be there for 1st of January, whether there'll be adaptations and so on. But I mean, we're full on trying to prepare the next season. And I mean, this World Championships is a fantastic platform to actually, having an ability to talk to you about it, even though some of the new things, even though I can't tell you everything. But so it's really, we're very excited.
Last few questions by Vanti.
Sir, any plans to have Hawkeye and all for both sectors?
I think we've had a couple of questions on that, and it's the same answer. I can't really open up to the details of exactly how and what we're doing and so on, but it's not too far away before we can start making some announcements. We just want to be sure we don't promise you, or particularly the players or umpires, anything that we can't. So there's obviously a timing, and we're in August now, so it's not too far down the road. So I'd like to come out with that a little later, but I think we have a lot of things in the pipeline.
Thomas, one more here. Question, Anush?
Can you talk about how much you want to take control of the streaming platform on your own? I mean, Badminton does a lot of live streaming on YouTube, but do you want to control that and maybe have an app of your own with a subscription model of your own?
Yeah, I mean, I can't give you the exact details of the business proposition and the pricing models and all that, but you're correct that we did announce in our the press releases that we're working on launching an OTT platform. You could argue YouTube is a kind of OTT platform as well, but a slightly different one that actually will be able to offer content in a slightly different way, a little bit more controlled by us, and probably with better quality on some aspects. So that's work going on. It's one of those other technology projects we've been talking about here. So we will come out with much more information that is obviously an offering to all our fans, and I hope they'll support, because it's an ability for us to create a much more customized products for them in the market than what we are able to do maybe with the present YouTube platform. But it's not like we won't have a YouTube platform. YouTube is still a very important channel for us, together with our other social media channels that we obviously also use. But you can get much more information from Lund on the breadth of that. But yes, we are coming out with a new proposition for our fans in a not too distant future.
Last two questions, guys. Last two, please.
Availability of shuttlecock is an issue.
Sorry?
Shuttlecock.
Yeah.
Availability of that is an issue. So can you just give us an update about this? What kind of experimentation is going on, and is there any concern you're going plastic?
No, hey, God, that's a big question. It's a little bit more complex than maybe, is there a problem? I mean, there's no problem for the World Championships in terms of shuttlecocks. There's plenty of shuttlecocks super good shuttlecocks who are playing with this turn, these top levels and so on. But you're correct that over the last maybe 30, 40 years, because people tend actually to think this is something that's just happened now. But over the last many years, there obviously has been, and there's been a bird flu thing that has created a little bit of wobbly times with the supply chains and so on. Price increases going a little bit up and down. And so we started probably 10 years ago a conversation that was also initiated commonly between us and the equipment suppliers. Because just remember, we don't supply shuttlecocks, and we don't intend to. We have an equipment side that do that, and they do it very well. So we started a conversation more targeted at maybe the broader participation market, because that's where the bigger socio-economic impacts actually will be for clubs playing, individuals playing their batches, you guys going down, wanted to play and buy the best shot because the price is going up. So therefore we started a conversation around the possibility of maybe shifting or also creating a new option product within badminton with synthetic feather without natural. You know what? Just remember, the feather is only one component of the shoulder, so it won't change the whole thing, but it will potentially stabilize those fluctuations that might happen within, the shuttlecock production. And that's as much for the participation market. And we also then started, because that's our main responsibility, I think, here, to remove barriers within our regulations to make that happen. So many years ago, we removed the word feather, that actually it could be a synthetic feather replacement. And then the manufacturers have worked diligently to try and see how close they can get to replicate a product that is as good as the ones we play with normally at this level. And that is hard work, because you develop something and then you find out that it improved this, but then 2 steps back and something else. And that's going back and forth. And remember, we just had 3-4 years of COVID that actually disrupted that process a little bit. So the short answer is we are very supportive of helping the manufacturers getting some kind of to a place where we have both natural feather, but then also a synthetic feather option in the market. But obviously, to play with it at the World Championship, it needs to actually live up to quite high standards. And some of them are getting quite close to that, so it's super impressive. And then we're also hoping that the feather replacement can, when it's scaled to a much bigger volume, and hopefully also put a damper on price increases. But everything in this world right now, I mean, we live in a quite volatile world with oil prices going up, and logistical prices going up, and labor prices going up, and so on. So it's not only a feather issue, it's obviously also just lesser elevated innovation. That everything goes up. You know that from going down to the supermarket every day, right? And that's the same for shuttlecocks. So it's much more complex than what is the short headline, oh, there's a problem with supply chains and so on. Well, actually not, but yes, it's gone up, and we would like to avoid that, stabilizing this, because our mission in life is to make our sport as accessible as possible. So we would like to work with stakeholders to make products as good and as cheap as possible. Everyone needs to. They're not doing it without also learning something. That's the balance. We are not in full control, but we work very closely with many market stakeholders. You can actually hear one of the groups here, see one of the products that's come out, and soon will be launched. But that's not our business. That's the supplier's business.
Do you think the scheduling of media outing is going to create another issue with the another edition as